Hi everyone, and welcome to a very, very special AquaMonday here on Action Figure Insider. I'm Daniel Pickett. Normally I'm sitting here alone like a goon talking about Aquaman. But the nice people at Mattel reached out and said, hey, you like Aquaman a lot. Would you like to talk about the brand new Comic-Con exclusive Aquaman 3-pack? And I said, are you kidding? Of course I would. And so they graciously lent me actually two of my good close personal friends to talk about this. And I don't think we've ever got to talk to each other like in an interview setting on actually on AFI before. We've done it on panels at the show, but never like this. And in living rooms, certainly, yes. And
that's a little different.
Run into each other around town. We've run into each other in like Target aisles and
Target 11 o'clock at night.
And at some concerts and things. So this will be nice. So I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves. Talk about how long you've been at Mattel and kind of what you do. Just a little nutshell of your job.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I'm Bill Beneke. I'm the design manager for the Warner Brothers Boys business at Mattel. I've been working on Warner Brothers and DC specifically, all things DC, for a little over 10 years now.
Wow.
So it's been a great tenure. Done a lot of cool things.
Yes.
And happy to be here and talking about this.
Yes.
And sitting next to me.
Hi, I'm Jason Langston. I've been at Mattel about 8.5 years. I'm a designer. I moonlight as a product designer at night, but my primary function is packaging, and that's what I got to do on this bad boy over here. But I've known Bill a very long time, and I've been very blessed to work with him on some stuff. So we're really excited about this con exclusive.
I'm very excited about this too. You guys I think you first sort of teased me.
Yes.
I don't maybe 6 months ago and just said, sometime this summer you're going to be very happy. I think was the sentence you told me.
I kept it vague.
You kept it very vague. Yes.
But.
And you're right. This is actually like the two of you opened up my head and lovingly scooped out the insides, sent it to the factory, and now everyone gets to have a hand in it.
Yes.
So this is an exclusive for Comic-Con 2018. It will be available at the Mattel booth. It's also available online to pre-order right now. I don't know if that closed already.
I'm not sure if it did close or not.
But we'll find out, and we'll put some information in the show notes of this video. So let's talk a little bit about the genesis of this set. I'm going to assume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, this part of the idea came from the fact there's going to be an Aquaman movie later this year.
I'd say that's an excellent guess.
And I suspect that the nice people at Warner Brothers have said, well, we can't let you show the Aquaman stuff until we have a trailer.
Yes.
And so you thought, well, what else do we have up our sleeve? We could do maybe a comic book version.
Exactly.
With some of the characters featured in the film.
That's exactly right. So the goal here, he's really good. You're really
That's
good.
The answer.
This is not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Thank you and good night.
That's the shortest interview ever. So how long have you been doing this this AFI thing? So the idea was that, really the genesis is that Aquaman is a huge mainstay of the DC universe. He's got a gigantic, hardcore fan following, of which the three of us are proud members. I've got my Aquaman shelf at home. You've got your Aquaman shelf at home. And through thick and thin, I think folks have really loved this character. I know I have. So we were looking to try to halo some of the movie noise and remind people that, the movie's cool, but let's not also forget about where he came from, his comic book roots. And we wanted to capture a key moment in a box. And we actually looked at a few different versions along the way.
Okay.
I was really interested in kind of celebrating the Filmation series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And looking at the anniversary of the Filmation series, it didn't quite line up, but it felt like, Aquaman, Manta, maybe Aqualad. The problem there being the Aquaman felt like he would be very close to our Super Friends Aquaman.
Oh, sure.
And we wanted to do something very different with it. So then looking at, well, what's one of the great things about Aquaman? It's that incredible rivalry with Black Manta.
Yeah.
And his other top villain, Ocean Master.
Right.
You know, he doesn't have a deep rogues gallery, but he does have an incredible relationship with both.
Right, yeah.
And we looked at the cover to the first appearance of Black Manta, and it seemed like a natural to bring to life. So that was the start.
And did you get any sort of? It seems like with most of the main line for Multiverse, they've been leaning more towards rebirth and that sort of thing. So, was there any sort of pushback from Warner Brothers, or were they just like, "Wow, this is great. Yeah, we'll reach all the way back to issue 35."
Yes, they were very supportive. They were on board with that idea of let's celebrate the past as a way of getting excited for what's coming in the future. And one is not going to overlap, one is not going to cannibalize, one is just going to remind you of how cool these characters are as you get ready to see brand new live action versions of them. So they were completely supportive.
Let's talk a little bit about the packaging now.
Sure.
I haven't.
Take it out of the box?
I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
I haven't had a chance to tell you this, but my 15-year-old daughter said that packaging's really cool,
Oh, that's very nice.
and she could care less about any of this stuff.
Very sweet.
So yes,
A lot of folks have been saying great things about the package.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
Oh, thank you.
It is great.
so nice front with the logo here. It's got some texture to it. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on here. Aquaman on the side, the two villains on the other side, and then on the back, a little image with some text talking about the history. But then you open it.
Oh, here it comes. This is the best.
Here it is. And we have basically a three-dimensional version of issue 35. So can you talk about translating that classic cover into 3 dimensions?
Yeah, I mean, it was a natural fit. We were featuring the 3 characters from there. A lot of our Comic-Con exclusives, it's usually just Bill and I, after hours, kicking around ideas, like what should we do with this?
How can we make it cool?
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And how do we make it cohesive so that the concept of the toy works with the packaging? Because Comic-Con is really our opportunity to do something that breaks frame. And you have the Multiverse branding on the outside, but the inside gets to be special. It gets to be whatever we want it to be. And that's how the Wonder Woman package came along, was just us kicking ideas around. The Cyborg from last year was just like, what should we do? How should we do this? And
Batusi.
the Batusi.
Oh, right, yeah,
you know, it was always just we just kind of kicked ideas between the two of us. And then, so with this one, I looked at the comic and I thought, wow, God, we should just make that comic. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. But how do we make it special? And knowing some of the challenges of having the figure be, a lot of our packages, they're sort of in that what we call waiting at the bus pose.
Right, yes.
But I didn't want that. I wanted to just pack them out in these great dynamic poses, and I thought, well, we'll just do the comic. And then Bill started adding things like hands and accessories and everything, and I thought, oh, I got to cover that. We really should use the comic, and I'll use the actual burst, and I'll put it on a PVC sleeve. And so when the sleeve came out, we did the graphics for it, and just, I mean, everyone is really responding nicely to this.
So yeah, so there's the box, and then you can also
there's that sleeve.
remove that.
Yep.
And it's again got stuff on all 4 sides.
And some of the art is the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez stuff, and then we hired the good folks at Picture Plane. Thank you, Matt Katz and Glenn Bassett. But they created the Ocean Master pose for us, fresh, so that's brand new just for us. And that beautiful background that you're seeing with the bubbles and the fire pit and stuff, which we reused on the back, that was all those guys. So I'm really, really excited about the way it came out. And we tried very hard to make the blister so that you could get the figures back in there. I'm not saying it's reusable officially, but I'm saying that if you were to work those figures back in there, you totally could use that and just make a really nice display piece.
Speaking of shout-outs to people, this is probably the first time I remember on a Mattel product that there's some credits. Like back here on the back, and then on the bottom you have the special thanks to, and then you have some of the Mattel folks that worked on it.
So
was that a battle, or were they cool about that?
Well, so I don't know if for those of you at home, if you've got that cyborg item, if you look under the bottom, there was a little call out to a couple of us on there, but we were very sneaky about it last year, and this year we decided to just be way more overt. And fortunately, everybody was on board. They're very supportive of the idea, and it kind of fit with the whole comic book panel thing. And
oh, totally.
We love working with the guys at the Four Horsemen, and wanted to give them credit for it. And more than just Bill and I, it's not just the two of us working on this. It's an entire army of people.
Yep.
And we have people in our Hong Kong office, in our China office. We have vendors that we work with as far as illustration's concerned. It takes an army to get this stuff done.
Or a village.
Or a village. Yes, sorry.
Whichever. I mean,
it takes an Atlantean army to get this stuff done. But we wanted to give some credit to some folks that typically don't get the spotlight on them. Like Jason Lee's our project manager on there, and he's phenomenal to work with. He's a real sweetheart guy. And I just want to share.
Heaven and earth.
Yes,
on this.
we moved very fast on this item, and Jason had a lot to do with that. So I wanted to just give them some credit, and Warner Brothers was very supportive of the idea. Actually, our own legal team was the one that gave us a little bit of trouble, but once we talked to them, they were like, "No, okay, you know what? It's fine. Let's do it." And actually, the girls' team has been doing it a lot for a while, so
Okay.
it just kind of said, "Hey, they're doing it too."
right.
Why can't
There's
we?
precedent.
But it was mostly that, and it's not about patting myself or Bill on the back or anything like that. It was really just to give credit to the folks that work so hard on it that normally don't get credit.
The
for
entire team.
Yeah.
The entire team. Because, I mean, we kick off with an idea, I maybe get the ball rolling a little. You kick it really, really hard. Then we get involved with, our structural engineer and how can we display this stuff and make it look really good. Our engineering partners here and overseas, again, like I said, moving heaven and earth. We're texting on Christmas Eve about the fit of Manta's eyepieces and things like that. So there's a lot going on, a lot of people involved, and this was really neat. I wasn't sure it was coming, so when I saw the package and it was there, I was like, that is so cool. It was it was Christmas. And
we and then the first stop after Bill and I are kicking off ideas is I go to the structural engineer you mentioned. Her name's Autumn, and she, every time I approach her with any project, she gets very nervous because you never know what I'll tell her.
Yeah.
Last year it was the cyborg item because I wanted that blister to have as much detail as possible, and she looked at me like I was crazy. She pulled it off because she is incredibly talented. Very, very lucky to have her on the team. But that was the same thing with this one. I just want the blister to be really clean and this, and she's like, oh yeah, that's no problem, especially compared to that cyborg one.
Yeah, you put her through the ringer, and she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where we get into things like we want to show dynamic poses, but we don't want a ton of blister material in front of the figure, so it looks like you're looking at the thing in the ice block, and this is. That's some of the stuff we geek out on. It's like, oh, it's so clean. I can really see the figures, and with the window,
Show that again.
Yeah. And for me, I just love the vibrant
So
color.
when you do that, now you can touch them. You can touch them right here. They're right here. So let's talk a bit about, like you mentioned, the kind of plussing up of these figures. Like you have the alternate hands for all three characters.
Yeah.
You have multiple lenses for Black Manta. You actually have two. You didn't just replicate the same weapon twice for those guys. You did separate weapons.
Yes. So we really wanted to do this right. It's a coherent thought. It's a complete thought. It's a statement. So first off, since we've upgraded the articulation on all of our figures, this is a new Aquaman with the new articulation.
Right.
So
This
he's
is
gonna have
the new kind
ankle
of
rockers,
buck
etc.
body that you started with these latest waves of Multiverse.
And the same is true of Manta. The same is true of Ocean Master. With our signature series, we had gotten to Ocean Master in more of his 90s look.
Yes.
Being a fan from Nick Cardy days, I always wanted to get to this version, and he lingered on many a B sheet from 2008 onwards. So as soon as and when we were talking cover recreation, again, Nick Cardy fan, so I really love that image of Black Manta lit from below with the Aquaman text.
Oh yeah.
But since it puts Aquaman in kind of a negative light, it wasn't the right cover. And then looking at the hook of Manta's first appearance and the fact
he's between two dooms with
Right.
Ocean Master.
Right.
It was the perfect excuse to get Ocean Master in there. So
And all those characters appear in the film this go
exactly,
around. So
exactly.
Okay,
So-
now, you mentioned B sheets. Maybe not everyone knows what that is.
Oh, okay. So the B sheet is our concept sheet. So we lay it out on an 11 by 17 piece of paper, and we explain everything that we think will go in the pack. And of course, it's a sketch, so it's open to change. So when I first did this, it was, for a while, it was a 4-pack. As I say, there's a version that was filmation based.
Right.
There were a few different iterations. There was a 2-pack, and it really felt like, as we talked it over with our management, that this 3-pack was what made the most sense. And then that led to, yeah, but we've never done Aquaman with swimming hands. We got to have some swimming hands.
Right.
And people have tridents out there. He's got to have grip hands. He's got to be able to fight the Manta and the Ocean Master, so he's going to need the fists. So of course, we have to have those hands for Aquaman. And then it's like, well, they're all underwater, so maybe they all need grip hands and fists and swimming hands. And then on the cover, oddly enough, the two are using 2 different spear guns.
Right.
So as long as we're doing the cover, let's get the spear guns right and give them both to the villains. And then
And when he's adding all these hands, and I'm not realizing that he's adding all these hands, and I get the first preliminary pack-out image, which is a sort of JPEG mock-up of everything, there's just hands everywhere. There's a horrible tragedy of hands just floating. The shark ate everything but the fingers.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
luckily-
opposite of like Hook Hand Aquaman.
Exactly, yes.
Like it's just hands left.
Yes.
we're overcompensating.
Right.
We're overcompensating.
So luckily we had that nice big burst in the bottom left to just sort of tuck it in there. So if you see it in the photo, it's not there, but then when you show it, it's this nice surprise of a sea of hands.
You get a real nice surprise. Okay.
So one of the questions I was going to ask you, by my count, not including the movie, I think this is the 8th Aquaman that you've done in this sort of 6-inch scale.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. That's
So I was
fine.
going to say, kind of, what did you learn? But that was sort of what you just answered. Like, hey, they need swimming hands. They need
Yes,
gripping
there was,
hands.
There was that. There was also something that we were really excited about. So I think everyone out there has seen this great revolution in decoration, directing jet printing.
Yeah.
It allows some things that you just can't do with traditional tampo printing. So,
And that's we're seeing it a lot in like the
In
the
faces,
faces, on action figures.
but I've been kind of interested to push it and see what we could do that's non-facial. And other folks have been doing non-facial things, and so I was looking at, oh wow, you could do really interesting like chemical weapons, and we have a villain who's coming out who's got a really cool skeleton that we're doing some DIJ stuff with. That's a Batman thing. So coming off of the Super Friends Aquaman, where we wanted the flat black and it's tampo printed scales, so
Right.
it's a pad and it's one color. We wanted to do something completely different with this Aquaman and still offer up something that felt very classic comic, very Jim Aparo, that wasn't sculpted scales. So what we did was a combination of the molded color, trying to get that red-orange that you think of from Super Friends and from some of the books,
right.
going with the goldy, coppery overspray to give it some depth and some sheen like a fish when he turns. And then we came up with a really neat DIJ printing execution of multicolored scales that blend out at the edges. So as you turn the figure, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what Aquaman's shirt could look like
Right.
if it's not scale mail, etc. And it kind of gives the sense of the muscles and the highlights and the forms as the scales catch the light. So we're really excited about that, and kind of a Jim Aparo-esque head. That was really neat. That was something I really wanted to do, because I think we did Jose Garcia Lopez so beautifully the first time
Right.
the Horsemen did it, that they just hit it perfectly.
Yeah.
And the idea is like, okay, that's sort of the ultimate Aquaman. What do you do for your 8th, apparently, encore?
Right.
So,
By my count, you have the standard one, the first one. Then there was the long-haired variant. There was the blue one.
yep.
There was the 2-pack in gold.
Yes.
Hook hand.
Yep. 2-pack in gold is the one I actually use on my shelf.
Is it?
Front and foremost.
Filmation.
Yep.
New 52.
Yep.
And then this would be number 8.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
He looked at his shelf before
Oh, is there
he
another
come on.
Is it the Masters one isn't different, is it?
The
yes, Masters of Merman?
The
Is he
Merman
different?
one is slightly
Is he
different.
different?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So.
I thought about that one, but I
Yeah,
couldn't think
yeah.
of a difference on it.
Yeah.
So this would be 9.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
The green was a little different. The gold was a little different. so,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
But it's minor.
Can you believe the life of this line? That's bonkers
Yeah.
to me. And how many times we thought, well, there we go, that's the end. I mean,
Yeah.
because I've been in it since it was only Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you remember those days.
No, yes.
Just Batman.
Yes.
And then we go, all right, Superman.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, well,
Cracking open.
cracking open.
And then suddenly the deluge.
It's amazing.
demon.
And even just,
It's
just
Orion.
this format where they all still fit together. The horsemen are still working on them.
Yeah.
And you guys are there behind the scenes making magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's remarkable. Because, I mean, you remember toy lines when we were a kid. They didn't last that long.
No. It's amazing as we look at celebrating, 10 years of Motu Classics. If we look at the history of DCU, all this time working with the Horsemen. You've been on it so much of that. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And the fact that we can go back and reinvestigate some of these characters. Yeah, I'm a tinkerer. So that 8 Aquaman deep, clearly.
Right.
So that is a delight. Manta was another one. Like, I wanted to get the black suit, but with the blue highlights.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
never quite done that before.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the eyes, Challenge of the Super Friends was my introduction. So, of course, I like yellow.
Yes.
On the cover, he's got white, which could be interpreted as pearl or silver, maybe, lenses, and from Who's Who, and now it's common. I remembered Bill Willingham's illustration and the red lenses.
red ones,
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
time I saw them. And it was like, I can't pick one. I mean, I know I like yellow and red. I probably lean toward red.
Yeah.
And we knew we wanted to do them as a clear piece. And that was when, so going back to Jason Lee, I was like, as long as we're making one and a separate tool as a clear piece, could I get 2 more?
Yeah, yeah.
Do yellow and red in addition to the silver. So
Magic.
that was, yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap up here, but I would like to know again with the history of this line, is there a character you personally would still like to get to in Multiverse? Who are you still waiting on yourselves?
Well,
you wanna go?
I can jump in. So last year, Bill came to me and said, "Hey, I know you've really wanted to help out on product. Would you like to work out on product this year?" And I said, "Oh my God, yes, please."
It's been very exciting.
It's been incredibly rewarding and fulfilling, and I've loved every minute of it. And he said, "What characters can we do this? What can we work on this time?" And I said,
So he says to
and
me,
I said, he says to me, the Ray was a character I've been wanting since I was a fan originally. I didn't start working at Mattel until 2010.
Okay.
So I'd already been hunting Targets and Toys R Us's for the waves up until the point I worked there.
Right.
And even after, because it took a while to get in the good graces of anyone who could give me any samples. But the Ray is a character I've been wanting to do forever, and he just had that digital series that came out.
Yeah.
He was on Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Yes, it was great, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it would be a perfect time to do it. And Bill's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And I felt like I had to fight for it and make a case. He's like, no, that's cool, let's do the rate. And you're gonna.
I totally ruined it, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Here's my reason. He's like, yeah, that's good. Do you want to design it? Yes. So to say like which character you really want to do, like he is it. I cannot wait until that figure comes out. I'm so excited
Soon.
about it. Yes.
Finally.
Very,
Soon.
very soon. So I mean, Ray's.
We
is
just got
it.
samples in.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Aquaman, but
It's
Ray's
okay.
cool too.
Yeah, and you'll be seeing some updated samples at Comic-Con next
Yes.
week. So we're very excited to be bringing some fun stuff out. But
When
the
they
Ray-
see this, it'll be that same week because we're showing it on Monday.
my
This
goodness,
is like a time warp.
It's a little like a time warp.
So later this week when
Yes.
Wow, okay. Excited.
did the Matrix just
I
glitch?
feel like I just blew your mind.
Yes.
Anyway, so the long form answer, the Ray was it. So I'm
So
good.
there's no one after
I'm
that?
good.
You're out? You're checked out after
and
that?
Granny Goodness.
Oh, I like that. All right, there you
I
go.
really want to see Granny Goodness at some point.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I would love to get that up.
By the way, as a little insight to how long characters linger, I mentioned it with Ocean Master.
Yes.
The Ray was slotted for Wave 21 along with Black Condor.
Wow.
So,
Oh, Black Condor?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a 90s explosion.
we're going to start building
Ah.
freedom fighters.
Oh, I love it.
So, Monday. Boy, it's tough. There are a lot. And I've joked in the past. We've said crazy quilt, things like that. Very high on my list. So my go-to is actually Signal Man.
Oh, wow,
I
okay.
would love to see a figure of Signal Man.
All right.
High on the list. I don't know if he's the guy I would pick.
Right.
Shaggy Man has been right up there.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't there talk
Yep.
of him being a
Yep.
Build-A-Figure at one
Yep.
point? Yeah, yeah.
There might even be a sculpt for him. A classic Metallo.
Oh, yeah,
A green
yeah.
and orange Metallo.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. Right now, the KG Beast is actually kind of high.
Yeah.
The Reaper would have been #1 for a long time, but
We own him now.
we managed to. Yeah,
That's
we
right.
managed to check that box. So yeah, those are the ones that come to mind really quickly, and I'm sure there are some more obscure Batman villains. Polka Dot Man would be pretty
Right.
cool.
Well, you still have that zebra Batman on your desk, don't you?
I do.
You showed him in
I
a
do.
case 14 years ago
Yep.
or something?
Yep. It's coming up on a decade at least. So
For me, I
Who would-
I collect a lot of DC items, and so I've got a lot of Justice Leagues, and so for the longest time my bar was if they get to Animal Man, I'm happy. But he's been in a lot of things now, so I've got like a small Animal Man collection. So I had to move my bar out a little further, and so far I think it's only been reached one time. Dr. Destiny.
Oh yes. It's weird because, and I know we're running short on time, but as a kid, I had these mini comics that came with a piece of candy, and in the Justice League one, they were all original art. They
Yeah.
sold them at KB's, and they had a page of the Justice League's greatest foes, and it was Despero,
Oh yeah, okay.
Starro, Brainstorm, Shaggy Man, and Dr. Destiny.
Destiny.
And to me, even though I know better, those are still the greatest villains the Justice League had, because that's,
I agree.
yeah.
Those are good.
One more.
Oh,
Ultra, the multi-alien.
oh yeah, yeah.
I love Metamorpho, which
Right.
is why he's snuck into a few lines. Ultra.
Okay.
The other guy.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other hodgepodge.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I am super psyched about this. Now I don't have to go to Comic-Con because the nice people at Mattel sent me one of these. So I'm just going to sit at home in my pajamas all week. It's going to be great.
But there's going to be so much good stuff to
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Yeah,
all right,
I
I
know.
guess I'll go.
Make the trek.
But this thing really is a thing of beauty. Seeing the pictures online were great, but actually seeing it in person, it is well worth getting in that line to try and track this down. I highly, highly recommend it.
Thank you.
You're gonna like it. It's just the stuff we've learned right here, just how multifaceted it is. The creation going into this, these guys put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Not just these guys, but all these people down here, and these people down here. Should be commended. Excellent choice. I couldn't be happier. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you later this week in San Diego.
Wow, the mind explodes.
And thank you guys for watching. Let us know
Thanks,
in the
everyone.
comments, who do you still want to see in the Multiverse line? We'd
Yes.
be very curious to know who you're still after. Let us know, and thanks for watching. We'll be back soon with more AquaMonday goodness here on Action Figure Insider.